and welcome to episode 3 of the Dennis Against podcast. Today we got Paul Benson, my old friend. What's up, Paul?
Not much, brother. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool to have you on. I'm trying to have people on from all different walks of life and stuff. So, you were on that list.
Us we both walk significant different walks of life, even in the same circle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of the is eclecticism a word, or did we just make that up?
I think I think that's made up.
We hang out with some we hang out with some pretty eclectic folks from
Eclecticism.
yeah.
When I was
I'm making it a word.
when I used to teach English, and I taught my first 3 years. I taught high school, like ninth graders. And every year I would always tell them, I was like, I have an English degree. So I was like, when you get an English degree, I was like, they give you a certificate that allows you to make up words. And they actually believe that shit. I used to,
I I
I,
have no degree, but I will liberty of just making up words as I see fit
I make
into
them up
the
all the time.
Wikipedia and Urban Dictionary are my best friend.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So what you
so
been up
what's
to
going on?
lately?
Busy time of year for us. We had uh, I've got essentially two startups going. PFL year, which is the National Fishing League. We just had our first event last weekend, or I'm sorry, week before last. So we paid a good kid here in Georgia $100,000, paid out a total of $500,000 for catching bass, if you can believe that. And then on top of that, I'm doing essentially it's like a rep agency in the fishing industry for 10 different brands. So I've got salespeople we're training, and I've got it on both
And
ends. I don't make
that's the woods to water outdoors.com, right?
woods to water, yeah,
Yeah. And
woods to water.
I'll put a link in the video underneath the video
Okay,
in the description.
great. I appreciate that. So we primarily sell to outdoor stores and dealers. If people are great products, every one of the products on our website has a website where they can buy it, or shoot me their local dealer contact info. We can up, talk to them. To a lot to what we do, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm just out here on this island doing myself. The fishing league, we're not with your business. I've got 5 business partners at the top of the food chain, but we have an extensive network of people that help and make all this happen. And the same thing on the rep agency side is there's a lot of people involved. My buddy Fat Cat's on. Um, you just have to support system, and then when I back here to the house, I got the great support system with Tara and the kids and all that stuff. They understand and everything that we do, but it's a busy time of year for me, so I'm glad I'm able to do it.
Are you with the National Professional Fishing League? Are you basically you're basically working like a promoter, promoting your own fishing tournament? Is that basically what it is?
Um, no, I mean we are the tournament organization.
So you are
Like
the one in the
yeah,
country. That's awesome. Is do you start this thing, or you just running it, or
we started it from the ground up. So the McCullough had the idea, took it to Brad Fuller, and they pulled me in shortly thereafter. And then year and a half in, Mikey Cathy Como came in. So there's a total of 6 of us at the ownership level. But we own the organization. Not that that's saying a whole lot. We still don't take a paycheck. Don't the fiscal benefit. Floodgates haven't opened yet. To where we have all that, but we around probably uh somewhere close to $4 million a year between ship monies and paying else. The anglers pay an entry fee to fish. They pay $5,200 an event, so they sign a contract for $31,200, and then we're the stewards and gatekeepers holders of the money currently. Most owners understand that professional fishing, it's that legitimized gambling is the right term for it, but that's as close as one that we can explain to everybody. These anglers pay to play. So when they show up, you have to give them an event and an experience worth $50. If you think about it, these guys are taking six, $5,000 vacations a year, and I have to make sure that it's the best trip they've ever had. That's the
Uh,
easy. Really, it does take people to make it all happen.
I'm not in the professional fishing world, so I wasn't really sure how it worked. So that's kind of fascinating. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. And that's one of the things that we try to put out. Like we're trying to bridge that gap between people do know, don't know, that type of deal. That do it, they're real blessed and fortunate to do it. They're real happy to explain it to anybody. They are paying customers, and we treat them that way, and that's why we the success that we have with angler field that we have, the loyalty that we have. We really do treat them like gold. We go way above and beyond to make sure they have a first rate event out there. So there's two other professional organizations at the top level out there. Bass has been around 50 some years. And when we started, we called them and said, hey, here's who we are and here's what we're doing. Right now, you've got tens of thousands of kids in high school and professional or high school and college fishing. And truth be told, you've got with us at 130, you've got somewhere around between 500 and 600 professional angling spots out there. It's not getting easier for anybody. There's a lot of market saturation on sponsorships, things of that nature. So it's tough to navigate. Truth be told, there actually needs to be 10 more leagues to facilitate all the kids and all the people up out there who want to get into that professional fishing market, in relation to that. So we're navigating a lot right now. We've got 127 anglers this year, 126 anglers this year competing with us. Some of them compete on the other tour organizations if the schedule permits. But we're just very happy and thankful for the people that participate with us, and we kind of focus on staying in our own lane.
That sounds pretty good. Do y'all focus on like? I mean, with the name, you have a little bit of ambiguity. I can't talk today, apparently. Anyways, y'all focus just mostly on bass fishing or different
It, it,
types,
it
or is it just
no, it's all black bass species. So you're going to see guys catch large out spotted bass. Spots you'll have spots. I believe in and around Kentucky because you have a lot of folks call them Kentuckies instead of spotted bass. But you also have strains coming out of Alabama areas like that. Bass are a pretty peculiar nature because there was a lot of what they called biology back at the turn of the century.
there's a lot of what?
Um, Bucket biology.
Okay,
So essentially, bit in the 80s in California was a derivative of guys taking fish from Florida and them to California and then feeding for about 20 or 30 years. And you got giant bass, actually world holders. There's a very interesting podcast, not to pander another buddy's podcast on your show,
oh, that's
uh,
fine. No,
but
all about helping
it's
people and
called
talking to people.
it's called Bass Pod. And like if you're a history nerd or me, these two dudes from start walk through the whole how bass fishing, in the world. It goes back to I want to say 1870s. A guy named Dr. James Henshaw, discovered like back everybody was about trout. Everybody was catching food. Everybody was, it was trout, and trout was a gentleman's game. A lot of fly fishing, things of that nature. And this dude came up and said, "Man, these black bass species are a lot of fun to catch. They're
And that's in the
smallmouth."
1870s.
Yeah, yeah. So it's cool, cool walk. The stuff that California it was essentially a professional baseball player. I don't remember his name, a biologist, and then somebody of note out in California who said, "Hey, come to Florida. These bass down here are awesome. Let's grow this out." And in San Diego, you have a group of lakes that in the 70s and 80s were just tremendous. Well, probably into the early 90s. Now they're kind of fished out and dead just due to overfishing, things of that nature. And lakes are sick, like else. So, like down around me, you've got Cook Lake is a well-known lake for tournament fishing and all that.
What?
I've
I'm
seen it
sorry,
go
you're breaking
through
up a little bit. What'd you say? What lake?
Gunter's Lake in
Say it
Alabama,
one more time. I'm sorry.
Guntersville.
Oh, okay. All right.
Gunter, we it's that southern draw like Guntersville.
Well,
Like
no,
it's just
it's the. I think the
yeah,
connection. I think we're having a little connection issue.
gotcha,
It's
gotcha.
skipping a little bit.
Um, but all of these lakes go through, and that's kind of where the lake we just fished, Logan Martin in Alabama. Um, it really hadn't had any moments there in a while. We had a pretty good out with our guys, and, you'll see some more in the next few years. But the resource itself grows and shrinks, and you have to kind of time that stuff as to where they're catching them and what they're doing. But today you've got, I think there's three. I'm not. Everybody wants to stipulate what's a professional. Some you got to make your income from a professional. There's guys that invest time, money, and effort all over the country at some of the lower leagues, which are competing. You've got some of those competing right now today as we uh, trying to make it to one of the top tier league in the country. It's a pretty big market, fiscally for the country. So the American Fishing Association is the group that uh, handles all of this. Like they're the political arm of sport fishing in the United States, and their last data that South African Associates together had the fishing industry, freshwater fishing industry, at about like 3% of the. So you're talking $400 billion.
So you're saying the fishing industry is $400 billion industry?
Yeah, yeah, 3% of your GDP for the country, which is like it's huge. People don't understand.
Yeah, I didn't
It,
really
it's
realize.
a
I didn't know it was that big, but I mean, I guess.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I haven't tapped the drain in that yet, but when I do, everybody will know it. So
That's all pretty interesting stuff. It's kind of an insight to me to a different industry I'm not familiar with. I mean, I figured you go to shows and stuff like that for your other brand stuff. Do you do stuff like that?
I do.
You
I do.
sportsman show circuit and all that?
Yep. Yep. We do a lot of traveling for that type of stuff, and it's different when you're a rep because a lot of the shows, the manufacturers, like we go to the Bassmaster Classic, which is the Super Bowl. Speak of Super Bowl Sunday, but it's kind of the Super Bowl of bass fishing. It's the biggest and grandest tournament there is.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma this year, but so I'll have four manufacturers. Bahia will be there, Hog Farmer will be there, Ark will be there with a dealer, but I don't have to physically go and set up a booth. When I work directly for a manufacturer, I would have to like go and be present.
Right.
I mean, you do for Atlas, but you have you'll have rep guys or you'll have dealers come by and hang out, help sell, and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where I've worked into now. I don't have to do as much of the nuts and there are specific shows that manufacturers will say, "Hey, we're not going to this, and you'll go be our presence there." And we do some of that stuff. I've got one next week. But when I do that stuff, I do it all with dealers. Like I go through the dealer, so I'm not undercutting them in their backyard.
Oh, that sounds good. And you're
Yeah,
not having to do the whole booth and public thing either. You're doing the dealer side. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That dealer side, wholesale side is always easier. Just build those relationships and everything. Way easier than dealing with the general public.
Well, the beauty of the public is there's not as much. There's zero politics. There's zero like
Oh
you got
yeah,
that
yeah,
you've got that one-on-one relationship. On the dealer side, you can run into some of that, politicism and things of that nature. We've
yeah,
re-
yeah.
good network that we manage, but the easiest way that we found to deal with all that is just 100% transparency. Like
Right.
there's a lot of, as you well know, there's a lot of people out there that don't like me because something or something I'm doing, but they're also not wondering, where I stand on something. Like I'm too dumb to lie or create stories on multiple fronts. So like,
So,
and
so
and and the
I've always known you to be a stand-up guy. So I mean, ex-
well, I I,
so tell
I
me,
try.
so tell me this: how did the fuck Paul Benson thing come about? I never understood that. I kept seeing the hashtag fuck Paul Benson thing on Facebook and everywhere else for like what years that went down, and then it kind of just stopped. What was that all about?
I don't remember. I don't remember who the actual person was that said it, but so this was like in the of like groups in Facebook. You were probably in some of the same like just
I'm
shit.
literally in hundreds of groups. Yeah, I have the
Yeah,
notifications
yeah,
turned off. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's where I'm at too. But there was a back page group or something, and Facebook was cracking down on like memes shared and all that stuff. Um, when I say it was early, and and I shared a it was a cartoon drawing, like, and we had shared some like vile heinous. I mean, like
Yeah,
man,
yeah, yeah. Terrible
I
shit.
can par when it comes to that stuff. But it was literally a cartoon drawing. It was a chick. Her nipples were like pointed like this. She was in the doctor's office, and it was like something like you could tell she was at the plastic surgeon, like mad. Like, and this is literally a cartoon drawing. Well, the doctor was like cross-eyed or something, like however his eyes were going matched her nipples, and he was like, "Oh man, I don't see a problem." So like in relation to the stuff that I shared, like this is very very like vanilla, but I share it. Somebody said something about okay, dudes. Well, and they may have said something like no more tits or whatever, because Facebook was cracking down. So me being a smartass, I instantly, well, like right when I shared that, Facebook had one of those. They hadn't had one in a long time, but remember where it would just like shut down for everybody for like minutes or
Yeah,
9 minutes,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like it would sideways. Well, right when I shared that meme, all of Facebook was like broken, and I don't remember who it was, but they were like, "Man, fuck that Paul Benson guy. He just killed our page. We just said," like they were going off, and it like, and then like three other dudes were like coming in, and they're like, "No, bro, it's all down. Like Instagram down, Facebook down, like all this stuff." And then somebody out of there, like it just picked up there. Like whoever was going off about me sharing a cartoon meme, it was, and I don't, man, I'm cool with like people want to get mad, whatever. Um, I try to treat everybody nice. I try to treat everybody like if
Oh, the
like one of my
hashtag the hashtag probably just made you more popular. Just
I
wait.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
there's still people. There's people that didn't hang out in the gun industry, in the fishing industry, who still say it and still use it. Like you'll still see it pop up on hashtag PB. Technically FPB was prior to FG. So like hang my hat on. I'm good. But yeah, it
Well,
was a
I'm glad to get the
it was
backstory of what happened, where that came from. I really had no idea. I just kept seeing it everywhere all the time, and I'm like, why is everybody like saying? I mean, like I haven't had an issue with Paul. Like,
I
pretty
probably
harsh.
embraced it
Like,
more, and like even the people, if I have a problem with somebody or somebody has a problem with me, I I try to like shit in addition to
I'm
like
sorry. Can
let's
you
say like
repeat that? You just broke up again.
I said, if anybody has a problem with me, or if I have a problem with you, like I try to squash it. Like I try that's where the transparency thing comes in. Like I'll go to them like, hey man, here's my problem. Here's where you fucked up, and like here's where I just choose not to hang out with you anymore.
Right.
Um, and that does piss some people off, and it's not always on them. Like a lot of times it's on me. Like man, I very limited window of time, and like I would love to come and hang out with y'all more. Like when I look at, I'm 46 now, which is ancient,
I'm
feels ancient,
45.
but but all the opportunities that I miss with good people for whatever reason, um, you know, like that sucks to me. I hate that it took me 45 years to realize there's so many good people out there that I know, I love, and I respect, and things of that nature. And um, whether they move here or move there, or God forbid, but they've had, one of your best friends, I had the extreme fortune of becoming close to, and like it sucks when you look back and you're like, man, I wasted all this time with these shitheads over here, and I really should have been hanging low key with these dudes in the back, like, because they're the people that I care about, and they're the people that I have, the truly like my way too long than that.
Yeah, one thing I've always tried to keep I mean, I have a lot of acquaintances. I know a lot of people, but I try to keep my small tribe small. I've got like a group of friends that are good dudes, and a lot of my friends I talk to them almost every day. And I don't suffer morons, drama, idiots. Like I don't have anybody in my friend circle like that. Like anybody that's like shithead or anything. Nope. I just don't. I'm way just too intolerant of that shit. Like I don't deal with people that the no call no show people or people that just don't have their shit together. I don't have time for all that.
Yeah, and I try not to, but especially when you cross lines, genres, and things of that
Yeah,
nature, like
they can creep back in. You got to watch
yeah,
them. You got to watch out.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, like on the gun side, we know a bunch of influencers,
a bunch of what?
influencers,
Oh yeah, yeah.
influencers,
Hmm.
right? Some of them are great people, great dudes, and like you want to try to find ways to spend more time with or around folks.
Hmm.
And then you got a bunch of them like from the outside that look great. I tell people the red jacket story all the time. Like it's something I can have like did and what y'all had on was on. And I know y'all joke about it and y'all don't think it like the people that were out there for the world to see. Like if you talk
Hmm.
about what y'all did or what y'all do, like the people that were in front and the people that think like, oh, this was it. No, man, that wasn't the people. Like them people couldn't tie their shoes without the people standing behind them doing what they did. If that makes sense, and
Oh,
that's
it
not
it makes perfect sense. What I
like,
want to do, you mentioned old. Well, I'll get back to that in a second, but you mentioned the red jacket thing just now. What I want to do is I've actually reached out to a couple of people that were accountants and other people that worked in the company, people that nobody knows. And I've reached out to them to try to do a podcast and talk about the Red Jacket days and like what happened and tell stories from back then.
yeah.
And yeah, and no, they have not hit me back. I don't think they want to do it. I want to do like an expose video, like
Well, I
real
mean that.
talk, where we talk about what happened back then. And I'm trying to get some of the people that were actually involved on my show to do it. But yeah,
Well, and I have not had the fortune of spending a bunch of time around. I met him like twice,
around
but
who?
Vince,
Who?
right? Vince.
Oh no, no, no! I didn't invite him. No.
Well, but perception of like
Sorry, you're
from
breaking up
everything
on
that
me again. What?
from everything that I know, like it, it's just weird to gain and garner perceptions on who the people are, who they aren't. It takes time to read through some of that. It, there's all that type of stuff. And after a year or 2 years, like, yeah, man, this guy's got his shit together. And then when it all comes down, end of it, you're like, no, man, that dude's a train wreck, and I got to go now. Like I got to quit hanging out with these folks. And it's not, but I disapprove or disallow now some of that stuff that went down at Red Jacket. Like that dude needs to burn. But I'm
Well,
just saying,
I
in some,
when it comes to Will, like I knew he was a scumbag from like
yeah,
day one. Like he took his. So let me tell you a fucked up story. Um, and we were talking about before I tell the fucked up story though. One reason you were talking about friends and stuff, and we don't get to hang out with the right people enough sometimes, and a lot of the good people are scattered all over the country. One reason I started this podcast was to talk to cool people. I know so many cool people.
yeah.
Have them on do a little show and talk to them. I know people that do all kinds of different stuff. Um, I'm gonna have first episode I did an author. Then I did Stephen Davis on episode 2. And I'm glad me and you waited before we did this so we could do it when you weren't driving. Because
Yeah.
I didn't know Steven was going to be driving until like an hour before the podcast, and we did it anyways. We cut it short. I think we did about 35 minutes. He had a blowout on the interstate.
Ooh.
So yeah, we cut it short at the blowout at the end of the podcast there.
I'd have changed the wrong podcast.
Do
Had you
what?
keep time for me. I said I would have changed the on the podcast had you keeping time for me.
But yeah, I started this to talk to cool people. And I think I was telling Steven one reason, and like I told my son, think about how cool it would be if you had video or interviews from your grandparents or your great grandparents, and you could go back and watch them talk to cool people or whatever, or see how their personality was, or somebody, these will be out there way after I'm long and gone, So, yeah, just a fun project I wanted to do. So
that's awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, but yeah, going back to Will and all that shit that went down at Red Jacket, that motherfucker. When I came in and did an interview, like my first day, I drove down to Baton Rouge, got stuck in fucking traffic on I-12 for 2 hours, and finally got there and talked to Joe. He basically hired me on the spot, and I told him you're gonna have to wait like 5 days, and I'll let you know if I'm gonna do it. He wanted me for ops manager, basically running the shop. We had an AK building shop at the time. We had the machine shop at the time because we had 2 buildings. Actually, we had 3 buildings, and Joe had bought the 3rd building, the building you've been to, the building we're in now.
Yeah.
When we were leasing 2 other buildings, and then there was a film building across the street. It was a lot going on. Any given day, the shop was at that point. Stephanie told me that I bitched about it all the way home, about how in disarray everything was, and like the stuff I was going to go in and fix and change and this and that. But before I left, Joe was like, "Well, you got the job if you want it, but you're going to have to also go talk to Will." So I went in Will's office. I talked to him for like 20 minutes or something, and he was just basically full of shit. Just basically talking to hear himself talk and shit, right? One of those type people. And then he looks at me, and he had to go. Somebody on the film from the film crew knocked on the door, and they're like, "Yeah, your scene's coming up." And then they shut the door, and Will, like, he says, "Well, I got to change my clothes for the scene. I hope you don't mind. I really don't care if you do or not." And he stands up and starts taking his fucking clothes off
Nice.
in front of me at the fucking interview. And I was like, I do
Like,
mind. And I stood up and turned around so I wasn't watching him fucking take his fucking clothes off and then change. I need,
was he feeling
and
you
then I
out?
still took the fucking job. Ugh.
Oh, that's
That should have
awesome.
been a red
That's
flag right
awesome.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, I
we've
was
all had
at the
instances.
time I've been unemployed like probably 6 weeks since I was like 15. And so like at the time I'd been fired from teaching and I'd been off work for about a month, and I still got paid like a couple of checks, but and it was good. But I was getting me and my son Kirk. He was like 4 at the time, and we just hung out every day. It was pretty great. I taught him how to play video games, and then I was like kind of looking for adventure and to do something new, and I was bored and at a weird spot in life, so I went ahead and took it.
Nice, nice.
And
I think you told me
yeah,
why you left the teaching world. What was that story?
well, we had a hat.
Didn't you buck on a kid or a parent or
No, no,
something? They
no. We had
wouldn't.
a hatchet
Uh,
man principal that was after me,
oh, gotcha.
and yeah, and he's. I'm not even gonna name him or anything. Give him that
Yeah.
fucking yeah. He's a fucking piece of
Well,
shit.
it ain't important if it ain't a story. I thought there was a story
No,
there
people like him are
that
the
I couldn't
reason.
remember.
It was pretty unjust. They tried to give me a improvement plan off some trumped up bullshit that I didn't do, and it was gonna add like this personalized improvement plan the principal gave me was gonna add like 4 hours of time or work that I had to do at night every night, and just all this data entry and garbage. And at the time, all my kids were real little, and my wife was working nights, so it was basically I was basically gonna be like a single dad trying to do 5 or 6 hours of work every night with my kids, and I pushed it across the desk back to him and said, I'm not fucking doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I'm not gonna resign either. It's like I don't get unemployment if I resign. Do what you got to do.
Well, I do hope
At the end of the day, I really don't give a fuck. So go ahead and fire me. Whatever. I'll do something else.
I've had teachers in that list.
Do what?
I said I do have teachers in the list in relation to, well, like I don't first responders, teachers, like we got enough money out there in the world, they shouldn't have to pay taxes. You know, like people understand like how important and how influential teachers are on the next generation. You know, in
Teachers
relation, like
teachers should make triple the money they make. I think
yeah,
triple.
yeah,
Like my wife is a teacher right now. She teaches fourth grade, and I'm glad I did 10 years in that world, and I don't want anything else to do with it. But
but
it does come back to me sometimes though. It was probably the hardest but most rewarding job I ever had, but also like I didn't enjoy it either. So
yeah. Well, that's why I do what I do. Like I don't make probably one fourth of the money made selling like I did when I sold kitchen product.
mm-hmm.
But I was miserable, literally miserable the whole time. Like I was 250, 260 pounds, like like 40, 50 pounds over, probably 60 pounds. Uh, it was just, every day was way just brutal of existence.
Brutal what?
I
I'm
had a
sorry,
lot
you
of
broke up after brutal. What?
brutal existence. Like it
Oh,
was
I
just
got you.
miserable. You know, I work harder for a lot less now. Enjoy what I do, and that means all the difference in the world to me.
Enjoying what you do is a big deal. Big deal. And working with good people. Like
Yeah,
that is very
yeah,
important. It's surrounding yourself by good people. Like we have a real good crew, good people. And you really, if you're running a company, that needs to be one of your number one things is to put together a good crew of people, and it's one of the hardest things to keep up too. Because you gotta every so often one of those people quits or whatever, and you got to find more good people. But you got, and then it's funny that everybody that's worked for us since we were Atlas or whatever, even from the Red Jacket days, everybody, most of the people are all still friends. Like we all still talk. Everybody knows each other. Well, I guess with the Red Jacket thing, it's like everybody has a shared trauma. But everybody at Atlas too. I mean, everybody, even the people that have moved on and stuff, everybody's still friends.
Well, but I think too, like the culture that was created was a culture of respect, and I'll use the term professionalism because y'all were professionals, but like you still had fun, you still hang out, you still bust balls, like you still have that camaraderie above and beyond the professionalism, and
Right,
you know,
it's like we try to have a little fun every day. You should have a little fun every day in what you do.
yeah, I'm proud that and it's a choice, but all these like shitbird companies out there building rifles and things of that nature. Anytime anyone asks me, hey, because when I worked for a rifle manufacturer, we had a pretty good product that we put out. We had a good platform, and a lot of people that come to me and they're like, "What's the best AR-15 made?" And I'm like, "Well, the one you can afford to run." But at the same time, when I talk to people and I know they have one, I'm like, "Hey, you don't have to buy this $3,500, LMT gun. Like you've got Atlas, you've got there was another company that just went under that a buddy of a buddy, Travis, they built they built great guns, things of that nature. I don't focus on you know you have to be able to train with it. You have to be able to fix. Have to be able to there's a lot of different things. So I had a buddy that I sent he took a gun to 20 different people to get fixed. They told him 20 different things about it had a live round in it, whatever. We manufactured a way to get it down to you in about 8 minutes. The knowledge and experience that exists when the story telling me about what he had to do, it wasn't around in it. It was just a case, and I'm glad we went the safe route to get it there. But like you have an extensive knowledge and ability to do what you all do better than everybody else, and maybe people are beating down your doors. I just and y'all don't take advantage of the marketing of that aspect. It's a
We actually stay pretty busy.
yeah, yeah.
We fix a lot of ARs. When I say
I'm
like
sure,
a lot, we fix a lot of ARs.
but there's a lot of shit out there too.
Yeah,
Like
people
there's a lot of just garbage.
home builds, just stuff people put together, shit people find in pawn shops, you name it. But ARs are easy to fix, really. I'm actually a certified AR armor. I've never bought a built AR before in my entire life. You know that?
I did not know
I
that, but
built
it
my
doesn't surprise me
I
either.
built my first one when I was 15, and I've I've all of them I've ever owned I built. So even before I got the little piece of paper saying them as armor or whatever, I've always just built them. And
So
hmm?
what what's changed in that front last 30 years in relation to building this building is everything
Well,
after or
back when I built my first one, it was like 1994. So back then, you had like Colt, Bushmaster. You had a little a little paper catalog of a company called Quality Parts, and you had like a handful of parts manufacturers you could get stuff from, or you could go to gun shows and see what you could find. But like all the parts, all the accessories, all the stuff that is out there now, like it was a little bit way more scarcer, and there was way fewer manufacturers. And so like the when I built that one, the flat top receiver had with the pick rail and everything. You know, like the A3 style receivers had just come out. Um, and that was like a new fad, like these flat top things. People were mounting scopes on them and stuff, but it hadn't became the M4 yet. You know, that had just literally came out. It was a new thing. I ended up building a 20-inch A2 H bar. And like my brother and my dad, before the assault weapons ban, we decided my dad was a full time gunsmith at the time. No, he wasn't full time yet. He was full time in '96. So, but he was still working pretty hard doing gunsmithing at that time. Um, we decided we better get some receivers before the ban, and we looked everywhere and couldn't find any. This is, before the internet, so we were like looking in Shotgun News, calling places and shit, old school. So we ended up calling a place in Crotch Springs, Louisiana, and we got some Essential Arms lowers from Crotch Springs, and I'm pretty sure they were probably cast. I don't even think they were forged. And but that were the only lowers we could get, and they were like 60 something bucks a piece, right? Within a day or two of us ordering them, the price went up to like $350 a piece.
Yeah, it was a lot more
And then they
back
passed the
then.
ban, and that shit evaporated. But we bought a whole bunch of mags. We bought a bunch of we bought one receiver each, and we each built our rifles different. Like my dad built a government H bar 20-inch. My brother built a carbine, and I ended up building a 20-inch one. And then I kept that rifle and ended up selling it before the ban sunsetted. And which is funny. I built the rifle. My grandmother gave me. She felt kind of like guilty for not having like a lot to do with me and my brother. So around 94, 95, she gave me like a $500 savings account and told me to keep it and don't spend it. And I went and blew the $500 on AR parts. And then I turned around during the ban years before that sunsetted, and I sold the rifle for $1,500.
Invest.
So I mean, I guess I did pretty good. I don't think Grandma had that entrepreneurial hustle, but she was a good woman.
I when I when I got divorced,
Do
what
what?
I sold when I got divorced, when I sold firearms, knives, patches, um, that literally like gave me the you know nest like my second start in life in relation to like because when I did I didn't want the house. I didn't want the truck. I got to keep all my firearms. I got to keep all my. We didn't do a lawyer thing. We didn't do all that. Um, I did not. There wasn't anything wrong indiscretionarily or anything that I did to create this. And I kind of went in and I said, "Hey, I'm not paying here, kid, all that type of stuff." But like I had to go out and kind of start over. I mean, I took nothing other than the gun safe, my guns, and my personal belongings. Um, a lot of that funded a bunch of it. I sold guns for 2 or 3 years that I hadn't probably 20, and I uh, people need guns at the supply house when I sold electrical supply. They knew and they knew I would buy guns, so I had like 375 H rifles. I had like, you know, all kinds of stupid caliber revolver, just stuff that was cool that I enjoyed going out shooting once or twice, but just never used,
Oh yeah, yeah.
never had any, I mean,
Stuff
just
that's
ridiculous.
worth money. You got it for cheap, but it's money in the bank. A lot of that stuff
Yeah.
never appreciates. I buy
Yeah.
sometimes sometimes I buy stuff just for the value. I know it's gonna. The other day I bought a Ruger single six. Um, just threw it on layaway at the pawn shop. One of my employee, Mike, my retail guy, he he has like 17 years of pawn shop experience, and so he's done got me looking at the pawn shop inventories online now, and I saw that single six, I saw Winchester 71, and I saw Bisley on there, and Me and my son went and looked at the 71, and it had holes in the receiver from a side mount scope. But the lifter in that particular 71, we actually, they had a picture of the serial number, and we ran it and figured out it was made in the 50s, and they wanted 1,600 for it. Those guns are going for 28 to 3,000 on Gunbroker. So we were going to go over there and buy it and keep it 10, 15 years. It'll be worth 10 grand, you know. But when we got over there, it had the side. It was drilled and tapped for a side mount scope mount, and that ruins any value it has, other than being a good shooter. But I opened the action and I looked at the lifter on that gun. I swear, I don't think a round had ever scraped across it. The blue one looked perfect on it.
Yeah.
The stock had some nasty dings in it, but otherwise the gun, with mechanically and blue and wise, was really nice. But those screw holes just killed it for us. I haven't went and looked at the Bisley yet. I need to deal with one gun at a time, but I did buy a single six. They cut me a pretty good deal on it. I got it pretty cheap, and it's just a 4 and 5/8. I already got ammo. I got holsters. So it's like kind of a no-brainer. Why not just buy it, you know? And it's not going to go down in value. I haven't really seen that Ruger's even hardly making them. All they're throwing out's the Wranglers, which, I mean, I got two of those too. But, you know, those are just like fun, cheap guns. But the single six is like one of those, it'll last forever guns.
And it's also reliable, and you never have to worry about it.
Yeah, and I know
So,
how to work on them too. You know, when I get it, I'm going to put a steel ejector rod housing on it, and I'm going to lighten the trigger pull on it a little bit. But, yeah, I may do a trigger job on it complete. I don't know yet. I'll probably just lighten it. But, yeah, I mean, get that gun, do a few things to it, and yeah, they just run forever. There's nothing. They're very, very simple. There's nothing there to really break. You know. Let's pause this just a second. I want to go take a leak and smoke a cigarette, and then come back. You want to take
all right.
about a 7-minute break?
So,
All right. Give me 1 second, and